Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your co-host Josh, along with my good co-host Ryan. Today, we are talking about tight ends, and then you're going to hear our quarterback episode that was so technically messed up, my fault, that we had to kind of release it as audio. But Ryan, how you been, man? We are 2 weeks out from regular season football.
I don't think I can wait 2 weeks. I've been staving off my addiction by watching preseason, and it's not really working. So I'm gonna need my fix.
Yeah,
I
just
really am.
a peek behind the curtain. The Ravens play in about 20 minutes against the Commanders, so we will
Oh
we will figure uh you and I will both be watching because I cannot wait for the season. Especially with all we had a slow off-season news like section or
yeah,
or just part of the year, and I feel like within the last 3 weeks it has just been 24/7 24/7 24/7.
yeah. Especially free agency.
Yeah.
Free agency has been big, especially for running backs.
Yeah.
The last couple of weeks.
Well,
So
yeah, and we teased it in our quarterback episode. We will get to it soon enough, but we want to wait till all three of us can get on to kind of talk about the state of the running back position and how you should look at it when it comes to fantasy. I think there is, to me, in the research I have done, I think there is a clear cut way of looking at things. However, I haven't told anyone really much of the stuff I found, so I can't wait to show that. But in the meantime, we are going to talk about one bit of running back news that dropped today because it's still the biggest domino to fall, I would say. And this was
yeah,
roughly about 2 hours ago. The Colts have given permission to Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade. Now,
this is this is nuts, man.
yeah, it is insane because I also feel like it's self sabotage by the
Mhm.
Colts here. And I feel
Yeah,
like
but the thing is with that, they stated earlier on in this offseason that they were not going to trade him. When all of this dirt started coming up, they said they are not going to trade him and they are not going to do anything with him. And I think just over this offseason or over the last couple of months of this dirt coming up, I think they realized that the relationship between them and
it's definitely
JT
too far
is
gone right now.
it's crumbled. It's dust. And I think they're just trying to salvage what they have left and are just trying to recoup some losses that they're going to take by not having him on the squad. So currently, I think the asking price is a first round. So a
And
first
this is
round or a series of picks with a first round equivalent
And
or
that's
to
where I'm looking at
combined.
the Colts, and it's like, what are you expecting here? Because if you're not going to
Yeah,
pay him, who else is going to offer up a prize like first round pick for
yeah,
him?
yeah,
And
exactly.
so it's like you've painted yourself into this corner that just doesn't make sense whatsoever. So
Mhm.
like, and I think especially with Ursay going, we're not paying like a second extension to our running backs. I mean, historically speaking, I mean, he's done that with Marshall Faulk, Edgerrin James, so on and so forth. And you thought, you know what? They just got brought in rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. You know what? Let's give Jonathan Taylor the ball and the contract, but
Yeah.
they're standing firm in that. So now the question is, if he's seeking a trade, who else, or not necessarily who else, which team do you think makes a move to just take a look at it? Because the other issue is you're multiple weeks deep in training camp right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's really only one option out there on the free agency, and that is Fournette,
Yeah.
that has real experience in the backfield. So, I mean,
And
having him on the team, having a veteran come in might
I'm
be
Indy's gonna
good,
have to do that. Like
but
Indy has no choice to do that
I'm,
because Zach Moss also broke his arm.
yeah, yeah. And I'm, I'm thinking that, what's going to happen with the Colts is their leading rusher is going to be Anthony Richardson this year. That's
Yeah.
my thought.
And I will say just straight up that's my fear
That
because of
that
if
is a fear.
because I mean, yes, he has the body type of Cam Newton, but once Cam Newton had one too many hits, it was over just immediately.
Yeah,
And unfortunately,
there's a time clock.
yeah,
There's a time clock
and
on those running uh, quarterbacks.
Richardson is such a like he's a much more natural thrower than Cam was, to the point where it's like, man, I he can actually stay longer because his arm is it's just so natural and like effortless for him. But now, if you're going to expect it to take all these hits to start off, is like, all right, we're entering a David Carr esque situation. Just not, it
Hmm.
wasn't all sacks. So,
Yeah,
I mean, what team looks at an all pro running back? And I think that's the big question.
that is a big question because a lot of teams have solidified their running backs by now,
Yeah,
and they're expecting big things. So, um, one team that comes to mind, well, two teams that come to mind, whose backfield's future is not quite on solid ground. One, the Vikings, but I don't know financially if they could do that.
and
They
they
could
wouldn't do a
go and
first
get
round
him.
pick. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if they could go do that. But the other one is the Cardinals. James Conner, I don't know how much gas got left in him. He was
And
very touchdown dependent over the last 2 years.
yeah,
And I don't, they're going to be leaning on him a lot this year, and he he might not last.
especially when Kyler Murray is going to start on the pup
Yeah,
list. So you're most likely starting with either Colt
exactly.
McCoy or Clayton Tune to start the year.
Yep.
And on top of that, I don't even think, based on what we know from what little we've seen in the preseason with the Arizona Cardinals, it does seem like to be a zone system. I don't know if James Conner at this point, if that's what fits him,
Yeah.
to where, like, I mean, I can see Arizona making the trade. It will definitely not be for a first round pick though.
Yeah.
Like that
No.
that the first couple teams that come to mind is like, well, I'm just thinking who gets hurt first. Like,
Yeah.
they won't do it at Vegas, but like imagine if Eckler gets hurt
Yeah.
or Pacheco at this point.
Well, and that
I can
was,
see Kansas City just like saying, haha, let's be funny and see what happens. Because if they're
yeah.
taking the approach of, well, our we'll give you Clyde Edwards-Helaire and essentially going to be a 28 to 32 pick, then that's where you
Yeah.
start talking. It's like, okay, it's going to be a late first, but well, that's it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Like you,
Again, it's they're recouping their losses is what
yeah.
they're doing.
I
They're
I,
just trying to get something out of it.
I originally thought maybe the Eagles would take a look into it, but they already put in the asset for Swift, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
we got Swift, we got Kenny Gainwell, we'll be fine. I thought maybe the
Well,
Giants, but the Giants have already got
mhm.
Saquon.
I mean,
The
you can
one,
also look at the Saints too.
yeah, Saints with Kamara, Kenji Miller. I mean, he's coming off of the knee sprain, but they also signed Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, I now thinking about it, I think Dallas could legitimately be a possibility,
Mm,
largely because is if they go, oh, Tony Pollard can't handle 25 to
yeah.
30 touches a game, we need someone else. And then if you're Dallas going, you know, can we sell our soul for 1 year or
Yeah.
sell our future for 1 year and go get Jonathan Taylor? That's not a bad move because you could go, look, our
It,
O line is really good. We just need a bigger back. Yeah, he can do a lot of other things, which also helps us out quite a bit too.
yeah.
But
I mean, they really
just the
could do that
asking price,
if they're going for a Hail Mary, like we're going to the Super Bowl this year. I
yeah.
think they're gonna go all in.
So
But
part
I don't think that's the missing piece for Dallas though.
no,
So
and it doesn't
I
matter what happens to the running
yeah,
back if Dak throws 35 interceptions. But no, I'm kidding.
exactly.
Dak is good, but he will never be that bad. But but yeah, I think I've hit the point where it's like, like for example, Ethan has Jonathan Taylor on this Dynasty team. Like, what do you do in this situation? Obviously,
And
I
you
mean, you can't play
hold
him.
him, hold him,
I would
hold him, and pray.
I would hold him and then basically pray he gets traded midseason.
Yeah, yeah,
And that,
and it could be that a playoff bound team or a team that has all the right pieces in place. Their a star running back goes down, like
yeah,
something happens, and that's their year where they have all the right pieces in place. They could go, all right, let's sell our soul and
yeah,
let's get JT because we
but
know
it
he's a
won't be,
solid runner.
and it won't be for a first though. I that's where I feel
Yeah,
like the
no, it'll
Colts are issue at this point is just
well because he's in year 3 of a contract, right? Like
yeah. So
he's
no,
got two of a he's
year
got
4. I am
did
going
he
to
say
look this up real quick.
yeah, I think he's in year 3 or 4. I don't know. Of his career. And after that first contract, rookies tend to go down, go downhill, and be taken over by younger, faster backs because you lose a lot of that mobility over the first couple of years, especially with how they ran him. I believe it was his sophomore year.
Yeah, sophomore year was
So
the most. Obviously, he was kind of the backup slash starter for his rookie year.
okay,
Excuse me, jeez. But 2023 is his last year of his contract, so he's going into year 4 right now. And
yeah,
they don't have he wasn't a first round pick, so they don't have the 5th year option. If you're going to get anything out of Jonathan Taylor, you have to do it probably now. If you wait till
yeah,
mid-season, and especially, and I think that's what the best thing. Obviously, yes, I'm a Ravens fan, but I just think strictly on an X's and O's kind of deal, trading mid-season for players is one of the best things you can do, just because the value is going to be lower theoretically because you're
yeah,
asking essentially for 8 games, and then on top of that, um, you're still getting the player. So you're just getting
yeah,
it at a discount. And if I'm the Colts looking at the situation right now, I'm realizing very quickly, all right, we're not going to get this first, and I would
yeah.
not be surprised if they don't get a second. I think they
And
may potentially be 2/3 called a day, and that may be the best you get out of him. So now you're telling me
yeah,
that you're losing an all pro running back because your owner made dumb comments at the worst time possible
yeah,
that were
exactly.
clearly aimed at Jonathan Taylor. Like,
And
it wasn't
that's
like
that's rough.
stating, yeah, and that's where this is self inflicted. So I don't feel sorry if the Colts get nothing out of it, especially if
Yeah,
Jonathan Taylor just leaves in free agency, gets a bigger deal, becomes a Jonathan Taylor we all know and love in fantasy.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
and that might be the situation.
and
He may leave and end up blowing up again.
yeah, and if he
Who knows? He was
does,
a major disappointment last year.
yeah, if he does, I mean, my biggest thing to think about is if I am a potential free agent running back, do I go to Indianapolis knowing that they're just
Yeah,
not going to pay up? Like, if I get drafted by the Colts, do I just say, deuces, I'm out? I'm out. Like, this is not happening.
yeah,
I think those are
and that's
things that
that's
have to
happened in
be
the past.
considered. Yep. Especially to the
So
Colts. One
yeah,
named
really.
John Elway. So that is our kind of just diatribe on talking about the Jonathan Taylor situation that has honestly has more curves and turns than a Busch Gardens roller coaster. So it we will keep you updated as to what happens there. And as far as what happens or what will happen, we are here to talk about our tight end tier list. Now,
Yeah,
we'll probably throw Ethan's tier list in the comments or at least in the description. As far as who the top 12 his top 12 tight ends are. I would say for the most part for this tight end group, there is a clear top 3, 4, maybe 5 and then everyone else
I'd say
is
six. I'd say
six.
six.
Hold on. One, two, three, four, five. Yeah, I would say six. Yeah, I would say six. And I'm even looking at my list, and I am actually going to make one last change to.
you're, you're doing it last minute,
Yep,
Josh. Come
yep,
on,
very
you
last
can't
minute.
tinker. You can't tinker. Come on.
It was one move that I have been slowly thinking about, but
Yeah, see, I was going back and forth on a lot of these guys. And I really think, I just want to put this out there
yeah,
that apart from I'd say my top five or six, these guys are like dead even for
yeah.
me.
Like
Um,
7
I,
through
I
12, I
just
think you could
see,
just roll a dice and call it a day.
yeah, and really that's how, a lot of times that's how the tight end market ends up being. You go with the hot hand. Whoever has a great year, you just hope and pray that you drafted them or that they're free on the waiver wire and that you pick them up. Because the apart from a few solid pieces, um, like your Travis Kelsey's, Mark Andrews, Kittles, all of them,
Yeah.
that they're getting work and that they're getting a lot of work. But apart from them, again, like Josh said, roll the dice and you'll just pray that you have a good tight end.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So
this has been a very interesting discussion, and it's been like this. I feel like for the last 3 years, where people have said, "Yeah, hey, Travis Kelsey in the first just seems like a decent idea," and I think that hasn't been proven false. But I
yeah.
mean, there's at least Mark Andrews is in the conversation of drafting a tight end high. How do you feel about drafting tight ends high going into 2023?
See, I don't like the first round tight end. There is that one exception of Travis Kelsey where I'd understand it. Maybe a
Yeah,
late round pickup, 8, 9, 10, or if you're in a 12-team league, between probably about 10 to 12. But I don't, I don't know these guys that are taking it. I think I did a redraft league where they took Travis Kelsey at like pick 3. I'm like, you
yeah,
guys are
that's
stupid.
yeah. At pick
You guys are
three,
stupid.
I don't see it, but I get
Yeah.
the idea going. I have such a clear advantage at this
Hmm.
one position, and yes, while you don't think it's like that much, yes, it's not a multiple slot position, but I just know that but the difference between 1 and 6 is probably the difference of another player, of another flex
Well,
player.
I mean, between 1 and 2.
One
Are
and
you
two, yeah,
kidding
one
me?
and two, yeah, 1 and 2 last year was a difference of like 10 points per game or
Yeah.
something insane, like to that nature. And so that's where, especially with Kelsey, I was like, okay, I get the
Yeah.
conversation now, but I think
And
let's
and it's just oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go for it, go for it.
Oh, I'm just saying I I don't really understand it how he does it, but I mean Travis Kelsey, there's obviously going to be something that happens, that causes him to fall off a cliff or causes his production to slow. But the dude has placed top, like the top position for tight ends in the last six, was it six
Yeah,
out of
it
7
it has
years?
literally
And the
been
one time he placed second was because Mark Andrews
yeah,
had a phenomenal year.
yeah, it's because Mark Andrews went nuclear.
Yeah, and
He's never
I I
Travis
don't.
Kelsey hasn't
Yeah,
had like an off year.
yeah. No, he hasn't. Not and injury wise, this dude has been phenomenal. He's missed maybe 1 or 2 games every year,
Yeah,
and that's it.
if that.
And that's all you see. Like
Yeah,
I'm looking at his chart right now, and I see 15, 16 games, and then most recently because of the change, 17 games,
yeah.
and it's crazy, seeing all of it, the production that he's had. So,
Yeah.
obviously he's just phenomenal, and yeah.
So to no one's surprise, he is number one on each of our tier lists.
Wait,
And
what?
Is he not number one for you?
No, no, it's Kyle
Wow.
Pitts. No, I'm joking. I'm
I was
joking.
like,
It
who
is
hurt you?
Travis Kelsey,
Yeah, who hurt
obviously.
you?
Travis Kelsey. I mean, you ask anyone in fantasy football, it's going to be Travis
It's
Kelsey.
Travis Kelsey
Just
until
just because he
it's not.
has, yeah, until it's not exactly. And again, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I just bought into the Travis Kelsey train this year, and I'm excited to actually see that production, but on my team, I should say. But I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't know how long he's going to
So
last.
am I, but at this
So,
point, like
but
I
people have been
guess
saying that since like year two of his breakout.
yeah,
So,
and I remember what you and your dad told me. It's just like you might as well just go to the wheels fall off because the wheels falling off is still probably going to be third or fourth. And
yeah,
if that's
really.
the case, then fine by me.
Yeah,
But
at this point, you're just waiting for him to retire. like,
exactly, yeah, really,
like he may retire before the wheels fall off. And if he
yeah,
does, he'll go down as,
he's
I mean,
potentially
what
going
has
down
to
as
be
like
the best tight
yeah,
end
him
in
or
fantasy football, at least.
as in fantasy football. I think he's the greatest tight end to ever play. As far as
Yeah,
actual football, I think right now it's between him and Gronk
yeah,
because
yeah,
Gronk was literally your like another receiver and a a the size of a pulling guard.
yeah.
So obviously Travis Kelsey at number one. I think we don't need to wax poetic much more about it. You already know what it is. But who is number two for you, Ryan?
All right, I got this was hard placing him up here. He deserves to be in the top three, but Mark Andrews is my number two.
Same here.
I I think he's a little high on my list, just because
Hmm.
there's some concerns that I have. Um, the scheme change is going to change. That's in his favor.
Yeah.
Um, but I think with the addition of Zay Flowers and OBJ, there's a lot of targets now. And I don't think he's going to get lost. I think he's still the favorite,
But you don't think there's
but
going to be like
I
a
think
big bump like people are thinking?
no, I think the production is going to dip
Okay.
a little bit. So just because I think there's more targets out there for Lamar to look at, because up until now, he has been the target,
Yeah.
like the target in the passing game. It has literally been him, and then everyone else is like way down here. So I I think his production dips this year, but I think he's still going to be in the top three. And that just goes to show how favored he is by Lamar Jackson. But I still think he's going to be in the top three. I placed him at number two because there's still that upside of with the scheme change that's going on
Yeah.
in Baltimore with the change in the OC. I think there's a potential that he could go up too.
Yeah.
Um,
I took it
so
as
this is, yeah,
yeah, it's a you don't know kind of situation how much the change is going to
yeah,
affect things. I took it as even if nothing changes, so like the type of targets he gets, the routes he's running, or anything to that matter, if that doesn't change, he was still going to be two for me. The big thing is, or how close does he get to number one? That's personally been for me just because there's a couple other players on here that I do really like, and I think like, oh hey, this is a person you should be going for. But there are a lot more questions to those players' projections than I have with Mark Andrews at the moment. I do think the wide receiver additions, that is a big question. And I will say, from what I've seen, because the Ravens have actually been live streaming their joint practices with the Commanders last
hmm,
week. And if there's anything Lamar has been actually really bad on, it's deep ball accuracy.
hmm,
And so I find that like he's still better way over the middle. So that's where like Monken and Mark Andrews would be. But I can also see that being a problem because you need Zay Flowers and Bateman to at least like widen, almost like
yeah,
lengthen the
to stretch
field
the
for you.
field.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, to stretch the field. And if that can't get it done, then we're in for a potential issue with Mark Andrews. However, I
Yeah,
still think they can get it done with Andrews, so which is why I had him at 2. But I do think your concerns are very valid.
yeah. And, there's also the emergence of Isaiah Likely, too. I don't think it's
Yeah,
going to affect Mark Andrews as
it,
much as Zay Flowers and OBJ,
yeah,
but, Isaiah Likely could take some of those reps, too, because they're looking for, somebody
yeah.
to kind of pick up the slack.
I do think the
So,
Ravens are going to be really living in 11 and 12 personnel this year. I don't think they'll
mhm,
do 22 unless it's like vastly needed. And I even think Patrick
mhm,
Ricard is going to take some snaps away from Likely if they need a more blocking tight end out
yeah,
there. Like he's shown to at least he can catch the ball, but he's probably someone that you shouldn't be having split out wide. But
mhm,
I do think it's going to be 11 or 12 personnel. I think Andrews is going to be on the field they whether like hell or high water, he will be on the field whether he's in like crutches or he has one leg or he's a pirate. Like he'll
yeah,
be
no,
there.
yeah, he's gonna be out there in crutches running routes,
Yeah, he's
of
just
course.
like I'm catching. But for
Catch the
sure.
ball, throw it.
Yeah, so Mark Andrews is both of our number 2s so far. You and I have had the same list. I'm debating my third ranked player. I'm
Three and
nervous.
four, 3 and 4 were hard to separate for me. Um,
You want to just start?
while you're thinking about it,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead
Say
and
you're
do
three
my
and
third.
four. Yeah.
Okay, my third and fourth are George Kittle and T.J. Hawkinson. Um,
Oh no.
Kittle still has it. What?
Oh, they are not the players I have up there.
So George Kittle, he was the last couple of games of the year with Purdy. He was ranked the top tight end in the league, just with points and everything. So I think there's a potential that he could, you know, kind of have a resurgence from the last couple of years of him being kind of mediocre at a top tier mediocre. Than what we were of expecting him to be. Um, I really think his connection with Purdy matters a lot in this. And, those games, the last couple of games, a lot of it was Debo missing from the equation. But as I've said previously, Josh has heard me preach on this. I don't think Debo is as good as people
And that's the
think he
episode,
is.
everybody. And no,
I don't. I think he had that one great year because they used him in the running game, and that was it. And after that, he's kind of dropped off the last couple of years. Now I know there's been injuries and whatnot, but I, that's why I sold him. That's that year after he was what the number one wide receiver
he was
in
number
the NFL.
2 because
He
Cooper
was number
Cup
two.
had one of the
Yeah, he had that
craziest triple
fantastic year.
crowns
Yeah.
you'll ever see.
So I dropped him after that. I traded him away while he was high, and I I benefited from that. But
I mean,
I still think George Kittle. Well,
I was gonna say, if we're really gonna talk about, I will happily bring up Debo's stats for you, but um, but yeah, continue with George Kittle.
yeah, no, that was pretty much my George Kittle spiel. Was I think that his connection with Purdy, I think is really going to matter this year because Purdy's still kind of getting his sea legs under him after that loss in the postseason. I think he's still trying to find himself in that offense, and
Yeah, we've only seen 7
he's
games
going to
out
be
of him.
leaning. Yeah, he's going to be leaning on not Hawkinson. Oh my gosh, leaning on Kittle a lot this first part of the year. So Kittle could win games for you.
Yeah, no, I totally understand the George Kittle love, especially with how well connected he was with Purdy. I have a different issue as to why I don't think that's going to be the
Okay.
case. Um,
Well, shoot.
and why? So I have them. I have to just count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, hold on. Which one is it? I have them at tight end 8 right now.
Okay. So quite a ways down.
Yeah, but the big reason why is because I think he is the most versatile player. One of them, actually, I'll say
Yeah.
it corrected. One of the most versatile players on that team right now,
Hmm.
and that's including, I'm saying that with Debo and CMC being on that team. But I think he's going to end up being the most volatile, and largely because if there's any weakness to the San Francisco right now, it's their O line. Largely because they lost
Yeah.
McGlinchey, they lost a couple players, and especially just how the O line moves, especially in that system, it's going to be a big factor. So my biggest
Yeah.
fear has been I can see George Kittle staying to block and being the check down, but not being schemed up for when it comes to routes. And
Yeah.
because of that is
There is a
why
decent chance of that.
I had him dropped way lower. And obviously the whole Debo, CMC, like Ayuk being there really
Hmm.
throws things for a loop. But because more than anything, I think Kyle Shanahan views Kittle and fullback Kyle Juszczyk as the security blanket. It was, I just need y'all to kind of do the work for me. If I can get these guys going, then you guys are going to be set up real nicely. Now the
Hmm.
question is how much work to feel really nice about them it is gonna be needed.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
And
if he's tight end 3, wouldn't surprise me one bit. I just
yeah.
personally have him at tight end 8 at the moment.
Well, and tight end 8, I'd say because of injuries for me. If he struggles with injuries again, I think that moves him down the list quite a ways, and
I
I think he would be near that range for me if he was injured this year.
Yeah, I
But
could
being
totally
hopeful,
see
I
that.
have him at 3.
Yeah. So
Well, so what
my
is your number
3,
3 then?
Darren Waller.
Okay, all
And
right.
the reason why I'm just buying into it, one, literally all the beat reporters from the Giants have just been raving about Darren Waller. Yes, I understand the injury thing is a major concern. However, I do think Darren Waller's the best receiver on the
He
Giants roster
is.
right now. And
He
that's
100% is.
and I know it's been a really bad 2 years. Like I struggled with one of those years just going like what on earth is happening, and like you want to cry real tears from it. But I think Darren Waller in this system, he will get used in a variety of ways. So I do believe that he may not get the touchdowns this year, but I do think he's going to be a massive chain mover for the Giants this year.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a target hog for
Yep.
them. I think he's going to potentially be another Travis Kelsey, where he is very much a chain mover. He is who they go to on third downs. So there's a decent chance, and that's why I have him at 5. So
Okay.
yeah,
You know that's solid. That's solid. I'm happy about that.
I'm reading into the hype, um, but I'm not reading in too much
You,
because
you kind of have to
I
keep yourself from.
because I've been burned by him many times.
Mhm.
That after that first year where he blew up, I was like, yeah, cool, Darren Waller, he's a top 3 tight end, and then
It has been downhill ever since.
he burned me for like 2 years,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
he
all
Icarus
right,
his
I'm
way.
done. So I'm hesitant, but I really was encouraged in their last preseason game. I think he got like in that first drive that where they had their starters out there, he got 3 receptions just in that first drive. I think it was for
Yeah,
like 20
he was
yards or
just
something.
used like immediately, and it's
Like
just like
that's
okay,
crazy.
yeah,
But I
that is a
also think
great.
that teams are going to key off that because yeah, he is their top wide receiver. So they are going to go, okay, so we need to cover him. We need to smother him. So
Yeah, that can be very possible, and that's where I think I would have had way more concern if Saquon wasn't there. Is like the fact that there
mhm.
wasn't another player that just that can take the load off, and as far as offensive
Yeah.
production is concerned. Um,
So
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 that
I want to hit pause
yeah,
on this real quick.
yeah.
Um, okay. So I just had a notification pop up that Miami may be looking into JT.
Excuse me.
So
Okay,
that would
no,
be interesting.
let's keep this in. Let's keep this in. We told the people that we would update them on JT. Miami makes a ton of sense. Devin A Chain just got hurt. Obviously, you love
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, but both of them combined do not account for JT.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
and and Miami has shown to go f them picks.
Yeah.
So
And
honestly,
it's worked. I mean, to be
if
honest,
that's the
it has
case,
really worked.
like Miami actually makes to me makes more sense than Dallas. If
Yeah.
Miami pulls this off, I have a big prediction. I would almost say
They're,
I would attach my name to.
yeah, they're going to be scary, man. If they get JT, they're going to be real scary.
If they get JT, it knocks the Bills out the playoffs. Is my feeling.
Ooh, dang.
And this is a side note,
That's,
which
that's
we'll talk
interesting.
about a little bit, but the short theory for that for me is that I don't think they got better enough considering the rest of the division and the rest of the
Hmm.
AFC. And because of that, I do think if they go to Josh Allen centric, and I'm not saying that means that's a bad thing. The problem is that you paint yourself into a corner that you can't really get out of.
Yep.
And I just think they lost a bunch of pieces, like Tremaine Edmonds. They lost, I believe, a couple offensive linemen. Don't quote me on that. And then I don't trust Gabe Davis as a wide receiver two yet, so which makes Dalton Kincaid
Not at all.
a very interesting selection. But that was also they were the odd team out when the wide receiver run happened in the first round this year.
Hmm.
So and I do believe in James Cook. I do believe in Josh Allen. But I do believe it's just going to be really hard for them to get wins. And it's going to be like a this is going to be like a knockout, drag out kind of battle for them. I like for a team that's been
Yeah.
used to like smoking teams left and right. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. They're going to have to scratch and claw their way, and I can see a few games not going their way just because of that.
Yeah. I agree. I, I don't think they have it in them anymore. I think Josh Allen's carried the team as far as he can. And I think they still have a lot of talent and a lot of skill. But at some point, Josh Allen is going to take a knee. He can't
Yeah,
handle the weight of that team.
my issue
And
is that besides Josh Allen and Diggs, and besides a couple other people, their team is good, and that is
yeah,
the best and worst thing about them. And
yeah, they're just good.
yeah, exactly. So that is a thank you for the update there. Who is
Yeah.
number four? Going back to Titans, who's number four on your list?
Uh, TJ Hawkinson.
Okay, I don't have
This is
Hawkinson.
a Viking. This is a Vikings hopeful.
Uh,
This is me saying, please,
I
please,
have
please, please.
I have Hawkinson at
Um,
7.
okay. So I have him up pretty high because he was a pretty favorite target by Kirk Cousins, and especially you know in those need to go situations, like that fourth down in the playoff game, in the wild card game last year. He went to him. He tried to get it to him and just let him go.
Yeah, like
But
since he was
unfortunately,
traded. Yeah, I mean since he was
mhm,
traded, like you're seeing targets of like 9, 10, 9, 6, 6, 8.
yeah,
Like
he
and I mean
really was a
obviously
favorite target.
the stupid New York game where he gets 16 targets. I say that with no bias whatsoever. Um, here is where also I didn't realize he had. Okay, that's interesting. But with T.J. Hawkinson, my here's my fear is that if Jordan Addison is the player we think he is, that will take targets away from
Mhm.
Hawkinson.
It will. It
However,
will.
and here is the big but to where I can be very wrong having him this low, and I'm willing to admit it, is if the Vikings running game doesn't get going like everyone thinks it can.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, they are not afraid to just throw it all over the field.
Yeah, KOC will take matters into his own hands. If Madison doesn't, do his job, and the rest of the running back committee just can't get it done, then yeah, he's gonna put it in Kirk Cousins' hands and say, "Work your magic."
Yeah,
So,
but I mean, I think he showed last year that it's like, oh hey, I can be very good if you give me the ball,
mhm.
and I think
And he could really be a an end zone threat too.
yeah, my
He didn't
biggest
really show
fear,
it last year though.
my fear with Hawkinson was you. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the right words to say here. He
It was
starts off
me.
really good, like starts off really good.
Mhm.
Addison's getting going, Osborne's kind of there, but the running game settled kind of his feet, but it's a security blanket. And then once those other things get figured out is where his production dips. That is the one thing I
Yeah,
don't want to happen, but I do feel like it's in within the realm of possibility.
yeah.
Alrighty,
And
so
I'm ready to see it.
yeah, so Hawkinson is my 7, my number 4. I've been high on this guy from the get go. I got Chigo Conquo at 4.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding you. It is just this has been my gut feeling. I am going to die on this hill, and I
You
will
know where
also probably be
Okonkwo
the
is?
I will probably be the first one to abandon ship if that's the case.
You know where Okonkwo is for me?
Not in the top 12.
Nope. Nope. And he is 14.
Okay, I figured as much. I'm willing to have this discussion. Here's my big reason why I have him there. I don't care that D Hop is there. He's going to get used, and he was getting used last year anyway. And I do think that he's going to like to get looked at. If we look up Okonkwo's stats, as I do that, you see great producing by me, but so last year if we look at Okonkwo, um, so he was averaging within like the 3 to 6 targets a game, and he was doing pretty good off that. But the big issue is they lost Ryan Tannehill for the year, so that was with a backup quarterback, and they just had major issues with Malik Willis at quarterback. I do think if Tannehill stays healthy, he's the first one I see that takes a step forward. Trey Traylon
Yeah.
Burks still really good. D Hop still really good. Obviously, the king is still there, and Tyjae Spears has been very impressive. I think it within this offense, especially Tannehill loves throwing to tight ends, and Okonkwo is a receiving tight end. His blocking is better than it's given credit for, but that's going to keep him on the field. And I think that's the best thing that you can ask for a second year tight end. So he's one I am putting my flag into the ground on this. I know people will have me lose their minds or just call me an idiot. You can if this prediction doesn't end up being true, but I'm going to die on this hill.
Okay. All right. All right. I don't blame you. I mean, hey, you can believe what you want to believe.
You can believe what
I
you want to believe, man.
I don't necessarily have him very high just because uh, he didn't really produce that much last year, and
That's
that
fair.
was notable. I I don't think that he showed the level of skill to be one of the top, tight ends. That's just me.
No, that's
It
very
may have
fair.
been opportunity. It may have been a lack of opportunity to show it. Um, but I just don't know, man. And um, I do think what in his favor, Deshaun Watson or not Deshaun Watson, Tannehill. I I I think they're gonna try to move a little more into the passing game. I think they're trying to work their way out of the Derrick Henry, um, pretty much the Derrick Henry show. Um,
Well,
I
just for
I just
longevity, they
don't
have
think,
to.
yeah, because I don't think they can rely on him pounding the ball in every single time. So they need more, passing options, and I think just the lack of passing options there, I think he may benefit from that. So there's a good chance that he could be up here. But like I said, after the top like 5 or 6 for me,
Oh, it's a coin
it
toss.
it's a coin toss. And
Yeah,
he was one of those guys where it's like, okay, I can't see a whole lot of upside, but I don't see a lot of like negatives either. I
he
just don't see it. And
what
that's
would
why
be
he's so low for me.
Okonkwo's spot where you go, you know what, he's in the top 12, but I'm not surprised.
What would be his
Yeah,
spot?
like if he's like, would you be surprised if he ends up being tight end 8?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up showing up this year. And like I said, that lack of production from wide receivers in Tennessee, I think he could really benefit from that. If he shows up and he's getting targets left and right, dude, he could be.
Yeah,
He really could.
it really
So,
could.
and that would
So
give him the opportunity to really show like the level of talent that he has. So,
yeah, for sure. So who do you have at tight end 5?
I have Darren Waller.
Oh,
So we
yes,
already
that's
talked
right. You
about
said Darren Waller.
that.
I put Evan Ingram in this spot.
Yeah, Evan Ingram. Okay. Evan Ingram is 10 for me.
Fair. That's very fair. Um, that I didn't know how high to put him up, and that was my big like I don't know. But I'm just gonna say I think he still becomes a viable option for Jacksonville, even with
Mhm.
because whether they like it or not, Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk are two smaller receivers. So
Yeah.
if they need someone bigger, like I think that's where Evan Ingram gets used. I
Hmm.
think he'll just be a lot more consistent this year rather than how explosive he was at the end of the year. It may be
Yeah.
to me it may be a situation of for 10 weeks he's in the top 5 of tight end scoring, but he may not get tight end 1.
Hmm.
I still think that's going to be good enough for 5, but like
Yeah.
you have him at 10, that doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah. And he's one of those ones where I wanted to constantly push up the list because of his performance last year. Um, but I don't know. The people above him I favor them a little more
No, I think
just
that's
because
fair.
for various reasons.
Very fair.
So,
So your 5
so
was Waller, my 5 was
yeah,
Ingram. Who is your 6?
it's going to be an unpopular uh, decision. Dallas Goddard.
Oh, not so unpopular because that's my 6.
Okay. Okay. So I chose Goddard because he's on just a fantastic offense, and he's gonna get used underneath. You just the level of
Yeah.
talent they have on that offense is just crazy, and I think he's gonna really benefit from everything going on, there's so many distractions on that offense that,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
he was the
he'll get open.
beneficiary of just like, oh, we don't have enough people to cover,
Yeah,
and he was fantastic last year. And I had he not gotten hurt for like 5 6 weeks, he would have been the
he would
like
have been a
tight end
top tight end.
2, tight end 3. And
Yeah.
I would say that was probably one of the nastiest stacks you could have had last year was Jalen Hurts and Dallas
Hmm.
Goddard.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. So
Yeah. Well, no,
that's
nothing.
six.
Yeah, that's Dallas Goddard at number 6 for us. Number 7 is me with TJ Hawkinson. Who is
Okay.
number 7 for you?
Fryer move.
Okay. He's not even on my list.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I
Interesting.
my um the reason why is Darnell Washington. And
Okay.
it, I had so many issues going back and forth with Fryermuth over this is that he has the talent. Like you've seen the talent, right?
Hmm.
It never coalesced into like having a good game last year. Like there was a text message I sent to y'all, and I think I forgot we were watching, but the Steelers were on Thursday Night Football, and I was like, did he like pee in Mitch Trubisky's coffee this morning or something? Because he was just not getting looked at. And then lo and
Yeah.
behold, he gets 2 catches for like 60 yards, and then he ends up with 8 points. So you don't like are not crying from a goose, but
Yeah.
it's so volatile. And I think the bigger issue to me is he's not really a blocking tight end. That's Darnell Washington. So let's just say in this case, Darnell Washington is going to be on the field more than Fryermuth this year, potentially. And if that's the case,
Potentially.
I
Potentially.
see I see a lot of the targets getting siphoned by Darnell Washington. And that takes him off the list for me.
Okay. All right. I the reason why I put him on this list, I like to see a little more consistency from him to like bring him up more, but I like the oh my gosh, how him and Pickett just go off of each other. Um, I really think that he's going to do well this year. That's just me. It's a again, this is a toss of a coin, but I think really have a feeling that he's going to do well. That's just a feeling.
Yeah,
So,
very, very possible. Again, a situation I
but
would not be
yeah,
surprised. But he was the one where I saw the draft pick for Darnell Washington. And I went,
uh huh. And that yeah that pick was good for the team, but bad. I don't know, bad for Fryermuth.
Yeah, good for team, bad
So
for player. Uh, so so we so I had Hawkinson. You have Fryermuth at number 8. I had George Kittle. Who do you have at number 8?
Pitts.
I have Pitts at 9. So let's talk about it.
Okay,
Largely
let's talk about it.
because
You go ahead.
I'm scared. I I don't know how to feel about Kyle Pitts. Besides the fact that actually I texted Ethan a couple weeks ago, and because he's obviously the our resident Falcons fan, and I asked because they traded for John Smith earlier this year, and they really didn't upgrade wide receiver too. Outside like after Drake London, and obviously we know about what they're going to do with Bijan. They have Algier, they have Cordero Patterson, and that's where I texted him. I was like, "Is Kyle Pitts going to be wide receiver too?" And he basically texted me with, "That's the plan." And if that's the case, he deserves to be on this list because he's going to get those opportunities and doesn't have to worry
Yeah,
about blocking or anything of that regard. However, do I trust Ritter? Not so sure yet. I
no,
will probably need half the
yeah,
season to either get myself on board or whatnot. So we shall
yeah. But
see.
the one thing with this wide receiving core on the Falcons,
The
it's gonna
receiver,
be it's gonna be hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard to miss them. So if Ritter can't make a good throw,
That's what we said of
that's on
Mariota
him.
last year.
Yeah,
We
that's
were
on
like,
him. All right. Kyle Pitts and Drake London are both monsters. So, I mean, this dude has to be blind not to hit them.
yeah, exactly.
So,
So I mean, we talked about Kyle Pitts here. He was my 9. Who is your 9?
my 9 is Evan Ingram.
Okay, all right. So Evan Ingram at
Yeah.
9. I think that's a totally logistical range for him in that sense. Um, you had so who'd you have at 10? I believe it was someone we mentioned already.
No, it's not.
Oh, who
It
is it?
is. I'm regretting it now, but it's Cole Kmet.
He didn't make my list.
Yeah, I just think the explosiveness is there, and the chemistry that he showed with Fields later on in the season, not near the first, or not in the first half, I should say, but the later half or the latter half, I I think he showed some decent chemistry with Fields, and I think they're going to be trying to get Fields not to scramble as much this year and run the ball because that's how quarterbacks have a very short lifespan in the league. So I I think they're going to be targeting him a little more, even with the addition of what DJ Moore.
So DJ Moore is a receiver. They have also
DJ Moore,
added
yeah,
Robert Tunyon as the other tight end.
yeah,
Something tells me they're going to live in 12 personnel quite often
yeah,
this year. So DJ Moore, Mooney on the outside, and then Tunyon and Cole
hmm
Komet as your tight ends.
yeah.
But
So I
I
have a
mean,
feeling
it's fair.
he's gonna get targets.
When he
So
got his targets, he did great. And it's still the greatest second round pick I've ever stolen. Uh, so my number 10 is David Njoku,
okay,
largely because he was really doing well in that offense last year, and I think he actually can be a problem. And I think if we're not so sure on Elijah Moore as the wide receiver too, that's where I totally believe that Njoku can fill that role. Amari Cooper is going to be wide receiver 1 no matter what. But as far as that second receiving option, I that's where I feel like Njoku is going to make his money.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Easy.
I agree. Yeah, he's gonna make his money.
Did you have him on the list or was he just off?
No, he was just off.
That's fair. That's
So
fair. That's very fair. So we have 2 left. Um, who are your last 2?
my last two are Dalton Schultz, and this is gonna be a surprise for you, Sam Laporta.
Dude, they both just missed my list.
Yeah.
Like honestly, legitimately, I would say potentially within the 13-15 range as far as that next tier of tight end.
Mhm.
I just can't trust a rookie tight end. That's why I didn't have Laporte on the
I know,
list.
I know.
And
And
Schultz
that was iffy for me.
Schultz is good. I just expect a lot more bumps in the road just because you are dealing
Mhm.
with a first time offensive coordinator, even though
Yeah.
he is good. My 2 are Greg Dulcich and Tyler Higbee.
Okay.
Dulcich, I think he was not going to sneak on my list until the issue of Hamler and Tim Patrick. So now it's like, well, you have to have another threat out there. That's where Dulcich comes in. And Tyler Higbee is just honest. To be honest with you, this was my shot in the dark of like, well, if the Rams offense is somewhat viable this year, let's just throw in Higbee.
See, and
They
that's the big question. That's the big question for me is, are they viable? Like
Higbee is the one
last
that I'm
year,
like,
yeah, last year they went through a lot of injuries, and that was what kind of derailed LA
Yeah.
Rams
And it's a
all last
big
year.
if on their offensive line too. And I
Yeah.
totally understand that.
hmm
Um,
So the whole reason I picked Schultz um, was because there's not many great receiving options.
you get
I mean, if you
Robert
really look at
Woods
their team, yeah,
and
Robert Woods and Nico Collins, and then they have John Mechie, who's still kind of coming back.
this is his rookie year.
Yeah, this is essentially his rookie year, but I I don't know if they have a lot of skill pieces there, at least on the receiving end. So I think he's going to be used, especially with a rookie quarterback,
That
because
definitely can happen.
they still have named they named C.J. Stroud, although he's looked horrible in the last two preseason
It's
games.
just getting their feet wet. I'm not too worried
Yeah,
yet. I am gonna wait for the regular season to see
Mhm.
if that changes. And if it doesn't,
Yeah.
then we
I'm
start
hoping.
ringing the alarms because it's gonna be another
Well,
Michael LaFleur situation.
yeah. Then you put in Davis Mills and pray that C.J. Stroud gets his crap together.
No, then
But
you pray you get the
um,
draft pick for. Oh no, they traded their first to Arizona. Never
yeah,
mind. Um,
exactly.
so yeah, so that's going to be our tier one of tight ends, which I mean, I think we've already said before. Basically, from 6 to 12, flip a coin. You don't know what's going to happen. I do want to bring up a
Yeah.
couple honorable mentions. One, you mentioned Dalton Schultz, obviously in your list. I had him just outside, but that's another good option. I think we need to talk about the team he left. So Jake
Yeah.
Ferguson
Jake
and
Ferguson.
Luke Schoonmaker could be two very intriguing options. Only reason I didn't put him on there was Brian Schottenheimer. I don't remember. I don't think he uses tight ends a lot. And granted, that may have just been Seattle, but that's just kind
hmm
of what I saw. And then uh, I think the two big ones that I think shocking that they're both not on our list. Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. They're
Um.
and I think it's
Yeah, I think
the issue we
Dalton
have with the
Kincaid. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I think it's the issue that we have with the Bills offense just because Dawson Knox was already
hmm
very touchdown dependent and then you just add another tight end to that mix.
Yeah.
So I think both just siphon away from each other to where you might have like tight end 16 and 17, but they're not going to make the top 12 or be a difference maker for you in
Exactly.
fantasy. Um,
Exactly.
we mentioned Darnell Washington, Isaiah Likely. How do you feel about Trey McBride? He was our top tight end last year.
So I like Trey McBride. The only issue that I have is Ertz is coming back.
Yep, that's my
He's been
problem too.
cleared. He's been cleared, and he is coming back. He was initially on my list, but
So
I
yeah,
think with
he
the big question mark um, regarding Ertz, I I just can't put him on a top 12 list if I don't even know if he's going to be the starter. So um, that's my
no, I am
iffiness
right there with you as well.
on McBride. I think he has the potential to possibly be a top 10
Oh yeah,
if Ertz gets out of his way. That's
yep.
the issue.
And I think if there's competent QB play as well, that would be my other potential worry. But
Yeah,
I think he could
yeah, because
definitely
you're
be
stuck
a
with what
viable
Colt
option.
McCoy.
Or Clayton Tune until Kyler Murray comes back, which
Yeah, but
I
it's
think
not going to be so
that's
near the end
a
of the year.
scenario where if I'm Kyler Murray, I am fighting tooth and nail to get back on the field. Otherwise, you're watching your job get
Yeah,
taken by Caleb Williams.
yeah,
But that
essentially.
yeah, but that I think is the end of the tight ends episode. So thank you again for listening. Just to kind of as a fun thing, like I said earlier, we had an issue with the video for the QB episode, which is why we haven't put it up. But you are going to hear the audio section first, and you're going to hear me, Ethan, and Ryan talk about our tier one of quarterbacks. But uh, we're going to have our running backs, receivers episode, depending on whatever happens with Jonathan Taylor or any other situation regarding running backs this year. that might be its own little mini documentary in of itself. But you can find us and all the information and all of our analysis before the season at Last Place FP on all platforms. You will find all of us talking about the season. We're going to have news and injuries. It's going to be a fun ride to the 2023 season. And in the meantime, enjoy the QB section of this episode, and we will see y'all next week. We shall find out. But let's go into tier lists, everybody. So for quarterbacks, we have only done one tier because a lot of times, unless you're doing a 2 QB league, you're only going to have one position for the quarterback slot. So we're going to kind of tell you our thoughts on who the top 12 quarterbacks are as of right now. This does not mean that it can change in a hurry. Like last year,
this is not gospel.
This is not gospel. We are willing to use the eraser and pencil in another name. But guys,
we're okay with being wrong.
Here's how we're going to do this. We're going to name our top 12 quarterbacks in no order at the moment. Then we will debate on some of the names, either not on your list or not on my list or not on Ryan's list. And then we'll debate who would be our high tier QBs or low tier QBs. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Ethan. I can't wait to hear your list. Who are your top 12 quarterbacks in no particular order going into 2023?
Okay. I'm going to do this all over the place. We're going to start with Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, and Captain Kirk himself.
Ooh, interesting. I like the list. I like the list.
I wanted to keep that all over the place too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really all over the place.
He said in no particular order.
In no
I wanted to
particular
randomize.
Okay. So no particular order.
No
Gotcha.
particular order.
I was like,
yet.
I didn't want to just give away my list.
Yeah, I was listening to some of those names going, oh God, what did I miss?
No. No. In the words of Frodo, keep your secrets. Keep your secrets.
Keep your secrets.
Exactly. We'll talk about the tier list later, Ryan. Why don't you just get more busy talking about your list instead of critiquing mine? How about that? How about you get off my back?
All right.
Trying to keep things interesting.
Okay. So in no particular order. All right. Trevor Lawrence.
Wow.
Anthony Richardson.
Gross.
Oh.
Kirk Cousins. Joe Burrow. Justin Fields. Deshaun Watson. Tua Tagovailoa. Dak Prescott. Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen. Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
Right, Josh, go ahead with your list because I need a palate cleanser.
In no particular order. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar, and Josh Allen. Pretty sure I said Mahomes too. So obviously that is my list. So I think the big difference I have is I have no Kirk Cousins, and I am willing to die on that hill.
Okay, why? I'm a big proponent of Kirk Cousins. Go ahead.
Kirk is about that action. Kirk O'Chains.
Look, here are two of the reasons I think Kirk Cousins made the top list last year. Justin Fields came on late. Deshaun Watson didn't play till week 12. Tua kept getting hurt, but Tua was on a pace for like a top 10 season. Lamar got hurt week 12.
Tua would have been top 5, I think, if he doesn't get hurt.
Quite possibly top 5. My big issue with Kirk is not Kirk. Because we have seen Kirk be able to do good things.
It's his religion.
No, it's not his religion. We're not going to start this. my big issue is I don't know if Madison gets the job done. And I'm
Okay.
going to be the first one to say it. I understand why they cut Dalvin Cook if it's related to injury, contract, the sorts. Alexander Madison, yes, can be effective in the offense. I'm not saying he won't be, but he's not Dalvin Cook. And I think the big issue, if we're going to keep the tree from Kevin O'Connell to Sean McVay, it really does require the running backs kind of, you make your own way. For Madison, it's going to be interesting that I don't know if he can fully pull that off, which means if the run game isn't as effective, it means the passing game is going to be more dependent upon, and instead of a veteran replacement for Thielen, you replace him with a rookie.
Yeah.
So I can see Kirk out of the gate struggling. I still think he'll do fine. I don't think he's lower than top 15, but for tier 1 QB, I am not entirely sure.
Well, so
Okay.
let me say something just as a general note, not specifically on Kirk Cousins, and then Ryan, I'll let you be pro Kirk. But last year I talked a lot about how I thought it was going to be running backs and wide receivers to the moon. I think this year it's going to be QBs.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of like the top 3 QBs from last year, I mean, the quarterback play was terrible. It was awful. If you didn't have a top 3 QB, your QB play was trash and inconsistent.
Super
pretty
inconsistent.
much the whole season. So, I think this year we're going to kind of see that regression back to the means because, I think we only had like 4 QBs that had over 30 touchdowns last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. So I'm excited to see some better QB play. I think, I don't even know what it was. It was just like some sort of bug around the league. But I think that's what makes this tier list so difficult, is because I could see a lot of the guys you listed as being good, but I think overall the position is just going to be better.
Yeah, I think I would be shocked if it doesn't. And I think that would actually cause a massive bubble towards, like a bubble bursting towards the QB position. Because before the running back debacle, which we will get into again next week, I was almost on record going, hey, I think you might need to consider a quarterback within the top 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Obviously, now with the running back situation, I feel like that stance has clearly changed for me. But quarterback was becoming a position to where it's like, man, if I can get Mahomes, Allen, at least those 2, and then Jalen Hurts last year, if I can get them, I'm almost guaranteed to have a top 5 scoring player in fantasy.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing with quarterbacks, especially some of the research I was doing was, hey, for like the last 10 years, there's been at least almost 2 quarterbacks in the top 5 scoring. So why are we trying to push him down to rounds like 6 to 10, trying to...
Yeah, when you can have a top 5 player.
Exactly. So, I mean, overall, I do think the quarterback position does jump as far as quality of play.
Yeah.
I think Kirk, though, struggles out the gate.
Yeah. So to be kind of like pro Cousins, with that KOC offense, he exploded last year. And our defense, which
was historically bad,
historically bad, I don't think is going to change too much with Flores there. I think the scheme is going to change, but there's not as much talent.
You got one of the best defensive minds in football there.
Yeah, I was going to say,
of course, but also
even middle of the pack.
If you look back at Flores, when he was in Miami, yeah, he had great defenses overall, but there was one year where he had the 30th ranked defense.
Yeah,
it was when he was early.
Yeah, it was abysmal.
Tenure in Miami.
Yeah, it was abysmal. So I don't know, with the talent that the Vikings have on defense, I don't know if it's going to change very much. Like, we may go up a few spots, but I don't think it's going to change. I don't think we're going to have like a top 15 defense this year.
Even a little bit better potentially gets the Vikings to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, even the middle of the pack defense, I also would say completely impacts the need for Kirk Cousins to just throw it all over the field.
Of course.
And maybe that's what the thought is of getting rid of Dalvin Cook and going with Madison. It's like, what? Madison's more of a battering ram. We can get the job done there, and we don't have to score as many points. Go for it, Ryan.
Now, I just want to preface this. I am not saying like Kirk Cousins is like a top quarterback, but you
Heard it
plug
here
him
first.
in,
Kirk Cousins best QB in the NFL from a Vikings fan.
you plug him in, and he's gonna get you points. Like he's a pretty solid
He'll get you
quarterback
18.
option. He's not a Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are top of the level, but he will get you points. And he's a good like mid-round quarterback that is a starter. You could put him in and not really have to worry about him too much, depending on matchups.
Yeah. So after hearing both arguments between me and Ryan, how would you lean Kirk Cousins?
He's top 12.
All right.
He's top 12 for sure.
All right.
He's just too consistent not to be. I think he's the most accurate QB in the NFL. He is the best wide receiver in football. Addison looks great. He's still got KJ in the slot. Or Osborne. Is it KJ
Yeah.
Osborne?
KJ Osborne.
He's still got KJ Osborne in the slot. I like that team. The defense is going to get better with Brian Flores. He's top 12. I don't think there's anything anyone could tell me to convince me he's not top 12. Unless he got injured.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's fair. We are not taking injury into account at this point. So let's talk about, I think there's two players let's bring up in this conversation, because I think I only had one player once, and I think Ryan had the other player, and that is going to be Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott. So
I originally had Daniel Jones on my list.
I do have Dak.
Oh, you had Daniel Jones? Oh,
I originally did, and then took
Gotcha.
him off later. Because I mean, Saquon, I don't know. Even though he re-signed, I don't believe in that team. It sounds like a locker room nightmare over there, even with Dabble. But I don't know.
The only
That's
reason
just my thoughts on it.
I don't like Daniel Jones just in general. I don't like the
Danny
situation
Dimes?
he's in very much.
White Thunder.
Yeah.
I think with personally why I put Daniel Jones on the list compared to some others is because I really do believe they have made an effort to make sure he's good. Not only did they pay him like that amount, but also like you drafted Wandale, Sterling Shepard's still there, Darius Slayton's still there, but adding Paris Campbell, adding Waller as well. Like he should be good. Like I think this is the year of, if you liked what you saw last year, it should be way better this year. Given
It's only going to get worse.
If you like, honestly, if it gets worse, it's purely on the player, and I am willing to say that. But I am willing to bet though that getting Saquon back actually solidified it for me to put him low. Top
Here's what's funny though, is they're like, all right, Danny, it's time for you to prove it this year, and he goes out and has an incredibly mediocre year, and say, all right, we're going to throw the bag at you. And it's like, New York, some of that money you could have spent on your running back that carried you to the playoffs and carried you past Minnesota, because the Giants didn't beat Minnesota in the wild card. Saquon Barkley beat the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card. And they're not even going to pay the man? So,
and again,
I think that whole team is a nightmare. I'm staying away from the Giants. No, thank you.
All right, that's fair. I think that's very
pull out
fair
my
to
whistle.
say. I think it's very fair to say. Now, Ryan, what do you want to add to the Danny Dimes conversation?
I don't like him. That's
right.
And I will say,
I don't like him. There's the headline. Yeah. Danny Dimes, I don't like him.
I don't like him.
Caption, Ryan Traver.
I just don't.
We interviewed 100 preschoolers, and they said, when asked about Daniel Jones.
So I think the Giants paid the wrong. I think the Giants paid the wrong man. I think they did.
100%.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, listen,
I think
give Danny Dimes 25 rather than, what did he get? Did he get 30 or did he get like 33, something like that a year?
I don't know.
I think it's 40, but
did he get 40 a year?
But only like half of it's guaranteed. It's something like that. It's
See-
enough to where it's like, oh, it's not that crazy of a deal. The numbers are heavily inflated.
If it was 40,
Now-
here's what I'd say: take $5 million off of whatever you gave Daniel Jones and add it to what you were giving Saquon.
Yeah. Because the big thing and to mention with Saquon is that, he signed, he basically got essentially 11 mil a year, which is like, okay, so why aren't you fighting for more? Why'd you sign? I think that's what I was saying earlier is that there's definitely some deals that were shook upon for him to sign that, where it's, hey, we're going to work on an extension next year. We're not franchise tagging you. We're not going to play that game or something to that extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been like a good faith deal. Like, hey, let's get this done. Let's be a team. And you do what you did last year, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
That I would respect. I would respect if that's how the Giants are approaching.
To me, that's how the details came across to me. And
but that's what they need to do. When you have a player like Saquon, that's what you have to tell him.
Who is
because
literally
he's going to carry your team.
Because he's literally a generational do-it-all back. Like, simply put.
Yeah, and he's been carrying the team for years. I don't know. I really do think they paid the wrong man. Because Saquon, like you said, is generational talent. Obviously, like he's a do-it-all. And he's great. And he hasn't had injury history. That's the one thing that's kind of hindered him throughout his career. But, I think he's got a couple more years there. And they've got to invest in him. If they want him to stay there, they've got to invest in him. I don't think Daniel Jones is worth the money that they're paying him. He's a decent quarterback, but I don't think he's worth it.
Yeah. Well, and with that, I just want to say Dak is trash and go to the tier list, and we can talk about it more later.
Yeah,
I want to get moving through the tier list.
Yeah, I will tell you right now, Dak should nowhere be near your top 12. I don't care that Brian Schottenheimer is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ryan, you're filthy.
I did put him in. But I made this list before I started like really reading about how he's been doing in camp and watching some videos.
What I mean, did you watch him last year?
Take him out.
Like
did
you not learn your lesson from last year?
Yeah, that's true. It's just the offense that surrounds him that is kind of propping him up for me.
I will tell you,
he's doing his Jimmy Garoppolo impression.
Yeah.
I will tell you the worst thing the Cowboys could have done for Dak is trade Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
That's what really messed with him.
That's what sealed his fate.
Yeah, I personally think so. And like my big issue with Dak, before we get to the tier list, I'll make this pretty quick, is that with Dak, he's not running the ball as much, so that aspect of him is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And because the only reason I bring that up is because that's
when he shattered his ankle.
Yeah, when he shattered his ankle, but that's when he was billed as going into his career. My other issue with Dak is I also have very little faith in McCarthy. And Schottenheimer, while good, is a very vertical, deep ball kind of offense. Now, I may be basing that off of what Seattle likes to do because Dave Canales, the OC at Tampa, is essentially the same thing. So it could be that kind of tree that we're looking at. And in that case, Dak isn't the greatest, deep ball thrower. Like, he's really good at intermediate to slightly deep, but if you're asking him deep shot to deep shot, kind of like Russell Wilson doing like moon balls all the time, I don't think Dak's the guy. On top of that, you're going in with a brand new running back. The offense has gotten 1 year older. I'm not fully convinced that Brandon Cooks gets the job done, and I might be the first person to say that. But then on top of that, the tight ends, the tight end carousel that they've been going through. So overall, I don't think Dak hits top 12 for me. I don't think he's going to be close, and that's just my thoughts on it.
Tier 1, QB1.
Tier 1, QB1. I think we all have the same person.
Josh Allen.
We don't have the same person.
We do not have the same.
I know we don't have the same person. Josh Allen.
Why Josh Allen?
Okay. He's 2 for me, so it's not too crazy.
He's 3 for me.
That's crazy. But here's
my
why
one is Mahomes.
Here's why he's 1, and I'll tell you why Mahomes isn't 1 for me, but is 2. The reason why I have Josh Allen is because my guy has just been taking it for years. And at some point, you just either decide that you're not going to take it anymore, or you're going to become a trash QB in the league. So mine is more of a declaration for Josh Allen than anything else of like, this is your year where you either say I have it or you don't have it. Because, a career mid playoff exit player, like nobody gives 2 craps about that guy, even if he does put up points. But with how much talent he is, how good his team is, and just what I think about him, myself as a QB, he should be winning Super Bowls. He should be QB1. That's how I see Josh Allen.
So there's one statement you made in there that gives me pause. The team around him being good. And
his team is nasty.
I think here's my issue. I don't think the offense is conducive for my issue is actually with the other players. Like, I don't think Gabe Davis gets it done personally. And right now, if you're expecting Dalton Kincaid to get it done as a rookie, I think that's kind of problematic. I think James Cook will be good, but I keep going back to this. I don't think people realize how terrified Buffalo must have been when Josh had the UCL injury. And I think they're actually going to try and take stuff away from him so they keep him safer, because he was the power back. He was the quarterback. He was doing all these things. I think they relied on him too much, to the point where it's also like even the O-line wasn't the greatest. So now I'm at a point where it's like, I think Josh Allen's very good, but if you're going to start taking things off his plate, plus I'm not fully in the Gabe Davis hype train. So I don't think Josh Allen's going to be QB1 for me. Now, I still think QB2 because there's going to be times where Buffalo's going to try this. And if it doesn't work, I think they'll be very quick to go, hey, Josh, we need you to kind of just go do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be most of the season because it is a bloodbath in the AFC this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, the reason why he's at 3 and not at 1 or 2 for me is because he puts it all on his back. And for fantasy time, like near the end of the season, that's playoffs, that's, the championship. And you see that wear going on throughout the season.
If you haven't watched quarterback, go watch quarterback, and you see that with Kirk Cousins.
And you
I don't think anyone knew.
It starts out, his year will start out strong. He's had 6 months to rest and get trained up again. But I don't think near the end of the year, I think he's going to start slowing down. And that's what dropped him down for me, because that can lead to injuries, that can lead to fatigue and all of that. I don't know about his longevity throughout the season when he's carrying the team.
Yeah. Like it's either he's going to carry the team or he's going to wear down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to say one last thing before we talk about Mahomes, but with Josh Allen too, like from quarterback, like you're going to see that this year. You either say, I'm going to fight through whatever this is, or you take the Mahomes mentality of, I don't care that I have this. I'm just going to ball. And that, like with Kirk Cousins, with Josh Allen, you could tell that it was affecting them and it held them back. So they need to either adopt the mentality of I'm him, or you're just another playoff exiter every year in the cycle. And with that, I think it'll be good to talk about Mahomes.
Yeah. All right. So I really appreciate that perspective, E. And so even if Josh Allen is not QB1 for me or Ryan, he's still QB2 and 3. So we still project he's going to have a really good
still
year.
A baller.
So I have Mahomes at 1. Where do you have Mahomes, E?
2.
Ryan, where do you have him?
I have him at 2.
Okay. I want to know I think I know who your 1 is. I think I know. But
it's Joe Burrow because
it's Anthony Richardson. No, I'm joking.
No, it's Joe Burrow. but we'll get there next. Literally next.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Mahomes probably had one of the greatest QB seasons last year. I still think that's
but regression to the means.
You
That's
think
my
regression
only
to-
thing I'm worried about with him. Because his wide receiver room didn't get better. You know,
it didn't
and
get.
Travis Kelce only got older.
That's fair. I still think
That's true.
I think it's very true. I think it's going to be a closer race than what it was last year, but I still think Mahomes
really good, still exceptional,
still really good. I just think he just kind of keeps it this year. If he's not,
but last year was special. It's like when Cooper Kupp was Triple Crown winner. That was special, but
that's
always
fair.
regression.
That's fair. And then what I think,
I mean, it's regression to the means if nothing changes.
Yeah,
you know, like if they invest in their wide receivers and they bring in a guy that's like, all right, now I can justify that Pat Mahomes is going to have another, you know, just ridiculous above everybody else season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but also,
they didn't do that.
What did they lose? Juju?
they lost Juju. He's being
KT
replaced
is
essentially.
injured.
Yeah, KT's
also-
hurt. Sky Moore gets another year of improvement. The O line's probably the biggest thing. They signed Jawan Taylor to
And they
fill
brought
in.
who was the rookie that they brought in?
Rasheed Rice.
Who looks
Rice?
amazing.
Okay, because I've heard a lot about him in camp.
Rasheed Rice looks really good.
He's
Rasheed
looking
Rice
really good.
is he's almost. Y'all remember Jonathan Baldwin for the Chiefs a long time ago?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay.
I feel like Rasheed Rice, at least for the starting point. But
Yeah. I mean, final thoughts is just I don't know that they got better. And so I can't justify an exceptional season when you've made zero improvements.
that's fair. I think that's fair. I'm more willing to be lenient that he stays at the number one spot, but I don't. If anything, I think there may be a small drop off, but it won't be enough to take him off of the number one spot for me.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Yeah.
No, not on
All right.
Mahomes.
All right. Time for Joey Burr, Joe Shiesty.
He is not my
Wait.
QB3.
He's my QB3.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
so
see, we didn't talk about my QB1.
Oh yeah. So all right,
It's Joe Shiesty.
it's definitely
it's
Jalen
Jalen
Hurts. I was about to say
You're a
no.
I'm
so
jumping
Jalen
on the
Hurts-
bandwagon.
Okay.
I'm
Okay, I'm happy we're having this conversation because Jalen Hurts is
he's my QB4.
He's my QB5.
Okay. All right. So I just like the
let's talk about
situation
Hurts.
Yeah. I just like the situation he's in. I think that, he's he showed up last year. And I really think that his rushing ability sets him apart. So
That's my thing with him, though, of what I'm worried about, is he showed his hand last year. There is no more secret about it. Because last year when Jalen Hurts did what he did, everyone was like, holy crap, who is this kid? But that's gone.
My issue,
if you show your hand, you risk people being able to be like, all right,
Sure.
I know how you play. You think I'm just going to let you get away with that? Like, no. And this is the NFL we're talking about.
so
that
I
is
have
true.
I have three things that makes me kind of worried for Jalen Hurts. I still think he's a good enough talent that he's going to be top 5 almost no matter what.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
unless
I agree
injury.
100%.
But I think there is a free agent transaction that happened that makes me very nervous. Isaac Semualo signed by the Steelers, so he leaves the starting lineup for the Eagles. On top of that, I think the stability at running back I am concerned about. Yes, you have a pretty decent stable of Penny, Swift, and Kenny Gainwell, and Kenny Gainwell's the only
gross.
running back that has shown to not get hurt when a feather touches you. So,
Which is saying something.
That's true.
which is,
That's
but
true.
but then here's my other issue. We haven't even talked about Steichen leaving. The OC leaving for the Colts.
Yeah.
Yes, they elevated the quarterback coach to the to OC and Brian Johnson. But now what happens? What changes between the two coaches? On top of that, there is a whole Super Bowl's worth of research on you and a whole off season's worth of research. So
That's true.
I think he'll still be good. I think there is enough change.
Yeah,
Top
I
5 for
think
sure. But I just
I
don't
would
know
be
about
shocked.
top 3.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Sirianni kept the same thing and like Jalen Hurts, they're like, let's just run back the playbook again, same calls, whatnot.
Yeah.
However, there is just enough moving pieces to make me concerned and not move and to move him off of that perch.
Okay.
So
So
definitely going to have a good year. I just don't know about, top 3.
yeah. So your
Okay.
QB3 was Burrow.
Yeah.
Ryan's QB3 was
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Mine's Lamar. Where do y'all have Lamar?
Oh my God.
I have
I have
him at
Lamar
4.
I have Lamar at 10.
All right.
Oh, geez.
Okay.
Okay.
I will not.
Because
I think
Lamar
he's
is
very
addicted to
volatile.
getting hurt. Like, I don't know what he does outside of the spotlight, but that man he's addicted to pain and being injured, and that worries me.
I think it's fair
Okay.
to put him in that 10 spot. This is the year of like, if we're going to go regression to the means again, I think this is where Lamar finally gets that chance to kind of shoot back up, which is why I have him at 3.
Well, he always shoots up and then he gets injured again, So it's like, yeah, regression in the means, but if you keep bouncing back and then getting injured, it's like you're not
Well, I mean,
regression, you're just injury prone.
but that's the life of a rushing quarterback. Every rushing quarterback is going to have those
But that's
issues.
where I think it gets different this year, because obviously Monken is not like he will add some of that old Greg Roman playbook, but it's not going to be the old Greg Roman playbook where it kind of leaves Lamar out to dry.
But
to where
look
he
at
has to be careful.
Mahomes. Look at Mahomes and Josh Allen, because they can do the similar thing to Lamar and not get injured, all because they have a different philosophy. They're not going for highlight reels. They're going for yards. They're going for the team. That they do it to help their team, not to put a show or to look good. And that's why I think Lamar does it. He's trying to juke somebody out of their shoes or make a crazy ESPN top 10 play, and then he gets injured every single year, and everyone's just like, why do I have Lamar on my team?
If anything, I think that's what changes this year, because I can see Monken going, hey, live to fight another day here. You have the weapons
run out of
to
bounds.
do it. Yeah. And as long as Lamar keeps living to fight another day, I think it's going to be okay. And I could see an even bigger emphasis on that. It's like, hey, we're paying you $260 million for over 5 years. Live to fight another day. And if that one thing gets changed about Lamar, he's top 3. If he doesn't change that, Ethan, you're right, he'll be QB 10.
So that is the dichotomy, I think, of Lamar, which is either he's top 5 or barely making the top 12. And that's just how he's going to be.
I think to me, he's the most volatile out of the tier 1.
He is. Yes. He is very volatile.
I have him as a tier 3 QB for that reason.
All right. So let's go to
Joe Shiesty really quick.
Okay.
Oh,
let's talk about.
So we got through Jalen, we got through Lamar. Joe is my 3rd.
He is my QB 6.
He is my QB 6.
Oh shoot!
So
do you want to talk about somebody else instead? We don't have to talk about Joe.
Let's punt it to 6. Who do y'all have at QB 4?
I have Lamar.
4 for me was Hurts.
Okay, Lamar's 4 for you. He for 3. You had Hurts at 4. I have Justin Herbert at 4. So I'm cool going either or.
He's a tier 3 QB for me.
Oh my gosh! Wait, Herbert?
Yeah, Justin Herbert.
I have Herbert at 11.
Why do I not have Justin Herbert on here?
Because you thought Dak Prescott was a better QB, and you're going to jail.
I think I just skipped over his. I think I just skipped over his name when I was going through my list of QBs.
Oh no!
I forgot he was a quarterback in the NFL. It happens. Justin Herbert, who?
I'm gonna bump my my number 12 and put him in here somewhere.
Yeah,
but that's fine. I think he's a tier 3 QB.
The reason why I have him at 4 is that, one, I don't think the defense is still in the spot where if they're just getting scored upon, you're going to rely on Herbert to get it done. This is the first year they've actually had a speed threat. His name, and
Yeah.
to be honest with you, yes,
His
I
name
was
is Derwin.
Yes, yeah. No, Derwin's that dude, but he might be the only dude on that defense besides Bosa. But honestly, I love Justin Herbert with the fact 3 legit receivers. I think Kellen Moore's offense kind of balanced that out a lot. Especially, I'm hoping they use Eckler, because I think Eckler in this sense, Eckler may be more efficient, but it may mean he may not get as many points.
Yeah,
Because with Joe Lombardi's system, if I feel like Eckler was scoring the points in spite of his role in the offense, whereas I feel like especially Kellen Moore dealing with Pollard and Zeke, I think he'll be able to use him a little bit better. But I don't think that helps. That helps no one except Justin Herbert when it comes to fantasy. And I think finally getting one speed threat at least with Quentin Johnson, along with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
And I think more consistent with Quentin as well.
Exactly.
Than what he had with Mike Williams.
I just think the field finally opens up now to where it's like, okay, I do have to worry 20 yards back. And I don't have to worry about my 8 to 15 range as a defense. I can basically. And so now I'm hoping that the windows open up a little bit for Herbert. And that's why I have him at 4. I think last year was his worst year, but he was still a good quarterback. It was just the entire offense fell apart around him.
I have him at 7.
Anything wrong?
So
okay, Ryan's at 7
for me.
Okay. Joe, you want to say anything about him, or can we talk about Joe football?
Yeah, let's go to Burrow.
Yeah, we can talk about Joey B.
Yeah, Joey B.
Okay. So I have him at 3 because I think last year was just unfortunate for him. I think he was QB4, if I'm not mistaken, last year. He was 4 or 5. But he also lost Jamar Chase for, 6 weeks? 8 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that?
6 weeks, I think.
So that team's just too good. I mean, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and he's a run threat. Like, Joey B's going to get it. Like, he's just going to get himself some points.
Yeah. So I have him at 6, mainly just because of this injury that happened in this during training camp. I was just
calf strain? You're worried about a calf strain?
Yeah, because the
Yes.
issue is that they already said several weeks out the gate, which to me is like, hey, that's more than a strain. That's more than a strain. He's missing all of training camp again.
And Jamar Chase came out saying, like, telling him, hey, if you need to like sit out the first couple of weeks, do it. We need you 100% because we got to have you here for,
January.
week.
I think even if he missed the first game, even if he missed the second game, I think he could still be a top 4 QB.
Yeah, but still, missing time.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, missing time at all takes him out of the top 3 for me, at least,
which is valid.
And I think as good as he is, I actually do think this may be the one year where it bumps him down quite a bit because I'm expecting a massive year for Herbert. I mean, Hurts is established. I still, this is also me saying Lamar's going to have a lot better of a year. So it takes him, and Lawrence. So it just takes him out of my top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of 5, what are we thinking at 5?
My 5 was Hurts.
Okay.
My 5 is Trevor Lawrence.
My 5 is Tua.
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Okay, yeah. So why Tua?
I'm big on Tua this year.
I
mean, he was on fire last year. He just couldn't figure out to stop slamming his head into the ground. So I think, barring going quote from Tropic Thunder that I'm not going to say, without going Tropic Thunder. He's going to be a top 5 QB this year.
See, I'm just concerned with his health. For one, he seemed to be a little more cautious. Like I don't know. It's a mentality thing.
Which I'm fine.
once you've been through a season of that, like major injuries and he's concerned. He's stated in the media that he is concerned with his health and he's watching himself now. I think he's going to be a little more reserved about letting himself get out there.
But that's
I'm not worried about throwing the football because that's all he needs to do. He's not a run threat. He's probably the second most accurate QB in the NFL behind Kirk Cousins, but he's more aggressive in throwing the ball, not in running and making plays. He's more aggressive in throwing it.
I think he's still going to get out there and ball. I think he's going to be a top 12 quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. That's the issue that I have.
If he plays every game, he's top 5.
Potentially.
So I don't have him top 5. I do have him at 8. And my big reason is that one, the AFC East definitely way better. Like again, that's that
division is insane.
That division
the
is
Bills,
insane.
Yeah.
Patriots, Jets, right?
Yep,
Bills,
Jets,
Patriots, Jets,
and Dolphins.
And then Dolphins.
Here's why I am a big believer in Tua this year. One, yes, he is concerned about his health, but he will, kind of like Lamar, live to fight another day. And I think both he and Mike McDaniel at points were like, all right, we have all this talent. We literally have 2 top 10 receivers. Let's just chuck this thing down the field. Let's keep going with it. I think also it being Mike McDaniel's first year, I have more faith and yes, it's kind of the same situation as Minnesota. I just have more faith in McDaniel than KOC personally for me. So that's why I am a big believer with Tua. If he can stay healthy, he is QB8 for me.
All right.
Okay.
QB6.
I have him at QB8.
Okay, my QB6 was Burrow.
That's fair. I have Fields at 6.
Fields is 9 for me.
We got a little 6-9 going here.
Nice.
Good work, Josh. Ryan, where do you have Fields at?
So let me pull up my notes. I have Fields, let's see, at 9.
You guys are on the same wavelength, but I think if you have that same talent as a runner as last year, and the reports of him actually getting better as a thrower are true, because he was the 33rd ranked passer in the NFL last year. So if you improve that number, I can see him being a top 6 QB. Because we already know he's a talented runner.
Yeah.
So if you start completing passes and throwing for tutties on top of that, I like Fields. I like Fields a lot.
I think that's very fair. The reason why I had him at 9 is largely because of the people I had coming up in front. So just to keep bringing it up, Lamar. I had Trevor Lawrence making a bigger rise.
So you had Lamar and Trevor Lawrence on the rise.
Yeah, and so because of those people on the rise, it did bump Justin Fields down. But I would not be shocked at all if he landed at 6. To be quite honest with you. So it's still very much within the range. I see it. He has a lot of new weapons this year, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Insert from the Panthers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the reason why I put him down so low, I originally had him like up near the top 5 because his running ability is just fantastic. But
it's special.
But the issue that I have is those new weapons. I think it takes a little more off of him having to run that offense and pretty much be that offense last year. It takes some of that off of him and gives it to other players. So he doesn't have to do as much to keep that offense moving. So I think it's going to spread the love a little bit in
what are we,
Chicago.
What are we looking like at 7?
Trevor Lawrence.
That's where I have 7 as well.
Oh, hey,
I
lucky
have Herbert there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's fair. Let's talk about Trevor Lawrence in this situation.
I just think improvement, but I'm not ready to say like he's one of the best QBs in the NFL yet. Because last year was his rookie year. Now you're going to see his real sophomore year. let's see what happens. You know, is
Well,
kind of where I'm
My
at.
whole thing with the Jaguars right now is like, look, they put in the weapons for this thing to work and for Trevor Lawrence to be really good. My issue is, like with all the other quarterbacks, the AFC has just gotten really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy how good the AFC has gotten
All
compared
right,
to
here
the
we go.
NFC.
Snap number one with CJ.
So-
Sorry.
Oh yeah, okay,
I'm
yes.
gonna.
Yeah, Ethan
Breaking
is on
news.
Stroud. Ethan is on CJ Stroud watch. Please give us the reaction.
All right, here we go. Oh, a little under
But-
center.
Okay, we need to hurry this up so I can
Okay.
watch.
First
Yeah.
throw completion for a first down.
All right, that's a good start. Good start for Stroud. But yeah,
Nice little out route.
for
He is
Trevor Lawrence,
massive. Oh my god.
Stroud.
Yes.
He's
CJ
like
Stroud. is
6'4",
huge.
220 something.
Yeah, but in pads.
Okay,
In pads, he looks massive. Do we
Yeah.
want to just run
podcast,
through?
guys, podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry. The
But,
CJ
yeah,
watch
but-
though.
Yeah, but Trevor
Okay.
at 7 for me. I think he's just going to be way more consistent this year, and it's going to look good.
I think this is where we're going to deviate between at least me and you guys. I think.
Okay. Oh
'cause
yeah,
we
this
only
is the
got
big one
3
because
left, right?
we have not
Well-
brought up.
Well, no,
one
we're
person
going
for
to
you.
8, so we have 4 left.
We're at
So
8. Okay, so
8.
that 8 is where I have Tua.
Who did I just
That's
have?
where you have Tua, right? You
Yeah.
have Tua
Yes,
at 8?
yeah, 2 2 8.
I had Gino.
So Gino, yeah. I'm gonna stick with Tua there, but Gino's a really good answer.
See, I have Gino at 11.
Like he'll be good. I like the offensive weapons he has.
And
But,
I think
you know.
I think they're gonna have to rely on him for the running backs to
Yeah,
get
he's got to
get
make
their,
plays. He could go up or down.
footing. So I think that's fair. I don't think it's a fluke that Gino was really good last year. His deep ball is
yeah.
incredible, and
Yeah,
now
very accurate.
when you add in Jigba into the mix, it's gonna look real nice.
Yeah.
All right,
and then at
QB
9, I got Captain Kirk. Kirk O'Chains.
That's where I have Fields.
Okay, yeah, I have. Hold on, did I say Fields there? Yes, Fields.
Yeah, I just love Kirk. I think that's about his range.
Yeah.
Is
So-
that end
Ten-
of top QBs?
10 through 12 is where things get interesting because I
Yeah.
think. All right,
Yeah, because
I
10
have-
I have Lamar.
I have
Yeah.
Cousins at 10.
Deshaun Watson.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. I just, I
Yuck.
think he'll make it work for that offense. He was starting to figure it out by the end of the year. Now the big issue is if Elijah Moore can actually be a sustainable wide receiver too, then we can start talking about like 6-7 range for Deshaun. But I also just think it's still a Nick Chubb led team. But Deshaun Watson I think he'll make it in the low tier.
Here's my thing on Deshaun. Njoku has to run before Deshaun can walk. So if they have Njoku going, I like Deshaun Watson. If they don't have David Njoku,
Yeah,
I don't like Watson.
I do. So I said Elijah Moore, but I would also agree. It really does depend on how
Yeah.
Njoku plays, because Njoku was actually having a lot of success last year before all the change and all the other like injury shenanigans happened. So it's
pick.
it's okay.
Boo.
It's okay, Stroud. It's okay. It's just preseason.
It's not okay.
Who do we have at QB 11?
That's where I have Gino.
Okay.
I had Herbert there.
Yep. Justin Herbert?
Yeah, Justin Herbert.
Dang.
11.
All right.
Okay, we talked about Gino. I would put Gino in this spot.
At 11.
Yeah, at 11.
That's fair.
Dude.
I mean,
Um,
anywhere in this range, I could see Gino.
All right, now here's the last question. Who do we have at 12? I know Ryan's answer because it's the one person we haven't talked about. And he's on my honorable mention list, but I'll start with mine. I'm going to switch Daniel Jones. And I am going to put Kirk in this situation. You guys got me on the Kirk train.
Okay.
The chain train.
This is the one rookie that I believe in this year.
Boo.
I really believe in. just because of his pure athleticism, he's obviously
He's a
starting.
freak.
Yes, he is an
I
animal.
like Anthony Richardson. I don't really know.
You know
if
he's
going
he's
to
bigger than Derrick Henry, right?
Dang,
Yeah, that's-
I don't even know if he's going.
Does anyone
to
realize that? If you didn't know
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
now you do.
I didn't know
He's
that.
bigger than Derrick Henry.
So if I don't realistically know for sure if he's going to make the top 12, this is me putting a little hope into the top 12 and being like, yeah, go Anthony Richardson. Just because I believe in his athleticism. He's just off the charts. So I think he's going to plug
6'4",
that in.
255.
Yeah,
and I think he's going to plug that into Indianapolis, and they're going to run with it. I think they're really going to use him. So
honestly, I would have considered Anthony Richardson a little more if a certain owner didn't make comments about their star running back.
That's true.
So he's in my honorable mention. I do think Anthony Richardson's that special though.
But also didn't what was it, Steichen? The coach that coached up Jalen Hurts from where he was,
Yeah.
I think that's a big boon.
It is a
big boon for Anthony.
It definitely is a big boom for Anthony Richardson. And I do think that offense is perfect for him. The big question is, can there be enough consistency around him to where things can work? Because now we're entering Michael Pittman's last contract year, Alec Pierce's second year, Josh Downs' rookie year, Jelani Woods' second year. So there's a lot of young pieces in that offense. So it may take some time for them to get going. But I kudos to you for having him at 12. I do think he's going to be a fantasy star, though, in my opinion.
So
if
disrespect
anything,
is real.
If anything, he does his best Justin Fields impression and just runs all over every defense. So
and for some or without any reason in particular, I just started running.
Nice. Ethan, who do you have at QB 12?
Yeah, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves for not including this person on your list. It is one Jared Goff.
So Jared Goff's in my honorable mention.
Yeah, he was in my top 12, but I decided to
Sun God, come on.
I decided to put a rookie in there. All right, Goff.
I understand, but Jared Goff he's a top 12 QB.
But I also got to say, like, their defense. I think their defense is going to get much better this year. They were at the bottom of the barrel at the beginning.
Well, they started picking it up at the end of last year.
Yeah,
if the Vikings were historically bad defense, the Lions were the second historically bad defense.
So
for a while,
I think they started doing really well near the end of the year, but I don't know. I don't think Jared Goff is going to be throwing deep balls and trying to scrape back from from oblivion. So I don't think he's going to be fighting for his life out there on the field anymore.
Yeah. I think the defense stability. I think they got better on the defensive side of things. Even though they traded Akuda, I think they have corners who are definitely going to be able to get the job done for them. I do believe in Brian Branch, Kirby.
Brian Branch looks so good.
Yeah, he's been looking insane, and so is Jack Campbell for that matter too.
Yeah.
So
I love Jack Campbell.
I think that
Gardner Johnson, didn't they?
Yep.
He got
Gardner Johnson.
Yeah,
well.
they got.
He's back.
He is injured.
Back. Okay.
They will have him.
Good. Because I would have been really upset for him. But if he can stay healthy, that back end of the defense is super solid.
Exactly.
To where the point
that's where they had a lot of issues last year. So
to where the point
they bolstered that.
Yeah, as long as they bolster that, I think they're fine. But I think for sure that's going to be the reason that Jared Goff's not in my top 12.
Yeah. Because I don't think he's fighting for his life anymore just to keep them in the game.
For sure.
That's QBs.
Yeah, that is QBs, everybody. So thank you all again. This is our first episode back. Next week is going to be running backs, and I think
We got
we'll
a lot
just
to talk about.
we got some things to talk about. We'll have a lot of questions. I think we will be able to answer quite a few of them. Don't forget to check us out on all platforms at Last Place FP. Just letting you know, going into the season, we are changing things up a little bit, but we're gonna still give you news and injuries, and then we're gonna have dream lineups and all that sort for you to keep you updated and give you the best opinion and news as we can give you throughout the fantasy season. Ethan, what do you have to tell the people?
Never forget. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're right. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week when we talk about our tier list for running backs.